Aside from the wonderful 1970s guitar solos, which that song was blessed with, what might you get from it about the Crusader Spirit? What are some of the things that came out? Yes?
There seemed to be a lot of heroism involved with it.
Yeah? If you know that you're going to die, you might as well be heroic about the way you live your life. There's a certain fatalism about that. That's true. Did I get you? Did I get you with the shirt? Good. So the thought of being heroic and doing something brave with your life is part of the Crusader appeal. Much easier to stay at home and do nothing, but if you take that risk, it's a glorious thing. Who takes part in the Crusades? What types of people? We've talked about this. What types of people take part in the Crusades?
Yeah, people whose life is just kind of like a little bit boring, and they have older siblings who are going to inherit.
So people who are having difficulty finding meaning. Who else?
Peasants or not second sons.
Second sons and people who won't inherit. But these people come from England, France, Germany, Italy, northern Spain, although Spain has its own crusade called Reconquista. These people come from all over Western Europe. They fight each other at home, but like the Greek Olympics, they come together in peace. But unlike the Greek Olympics, where they come together in peace to compete athletically at the foot of Mount Olympus, they come together in peace with one another to fight a war against the heathens. The thought of coming together with your enemies to do something greater, it's a very appealing idea. I have long said that the human race will never unite until we encounter an intelligent alien species that is a plausible threat. If that happens, we'll unite. Because it's on our interests to, because we'll need to. Because if the human race doesn't unite, then we're toast on some alien's bread. Maybe literally, How to Serve Man. It's a cookbook. It's a Twilight Zone reference. Outer Limits reference, actually. So, if there is a common enemy, people can come together. And the Crusades do provide that common enemy to the people of Western Europe in the form of the Muslims. Now, to this day, there are people, oh, we Europeans, we're the worstest ever. Oh, we're so bad. We crusaded against the poor, innocent, peaceful Muslims. And they look at the Christian Crusades to create a moral equivalency between the West and the Islamic world in terms of the way we approach war. It's not quite fair in terms of the historical record. It's more of an excuse to blame our own society because these people ultimately want to replace America with something that they consider to be more utopian, more ideal. So they will undermine the West and its American variant as much as they can in order to score political points. You're going to encounter a lot of that when you go to college. A lot of people won't like the Crusades. A lot of people won't like America. They have better ideas. The problem that these people have is they don't look at the history and the context. The Christians did not start Holy War. Holy War was not a part of the Christian tradition in a systematic way until the Crusades. Jesus is born in Nazareth around 4 BC. He dies somewhere around the year AD 33. The church becomes the religion of the empire in the mid-300s AD. The church survives Western Empire in the late 400s AD. The church becomes the center of civilization for the next 600 to 800 years, including this time. And at no time before the late 1000s, when the Crusades start, do Christians say, yep, let's strap on sword and shield and go fight for God. That is not part of the Christian tradition. Again, with the exception of Charlemagne. And that was not a systematic thing. That was pretty much a one-off to kill the Saxons. The Crusades start in the late 1000s. They end in the early 1300s. They last, beginning to end, somewhere around 150 years. They don't succeed. We're going to talk about how they don't succeed, but I'm giving you sort of a hint. They don't succeed. They fail. Ultimately, the Arab world pushes them out like fighting an infection. The next experience that Christians have with holy war is Catholic versus Protestant in the 15 and early 1600s. And that experience isn't against the poor, innocent Muslims. It's against other forms of Christian that ultimately burns out this idea of religious war. Since the mid-1600s, the only people who are in the Christian world who fight holy wars are in Ireland, where you have Catholic versus Protestant fighting one another until less than 20 years ago. And still, under the surface, there's great tension and hatred between the Catholics and the Protestants in Northern Ireland. Christian holy war is not an ongoing part of Western civilization. It exists briefly under Charlemagne in one spot. It then exists for about 150, call it 200 years if you want to be really generous. And then it stops, and then it happens again for about 150, 200 years in the 1500s and 1600s, and then it stops, except for Northern Ireland. Holy war, again and again, is abandoned by the West as being effectively unchristian. But it is a part and parcel of the Islamic faith and culture. That is a difference. The Crusades start as the result of being on the receiving end of Islamic holy war for over 400 years. It's a reaction, not an initiation. And those people that want to use it to beat up on ourselves because they are such wonderful people, they'd never fight a holy war. Well, we'll see. Are not looking at the Crusades in proper historical context. Anyway, that's it. Do you have any questions, comments, or thoughts? He's so evil. Yeah, I am. Enjoy your weekend without a historical assignment at home, and I look forward to seeing you, God willing, next week.